Welcome to episode 66 of the Unstoppable podcast with special guest, Keara Palmay.
My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life?
Hello and welcome to episode 66 of the Unstoppable podcast. In the words of today's guest, today's show is about stepping into your awesomeness. Whether you are stuck in a funk, at a crossroads, or feel that there is more to life, today's episode will help you to gain real clarity on exactly how to move forward and to overcome your current challenges. If you're a brand new listener, welcome to the Unstoppable podcast. For my regular listeners, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Please do continue to share the Unstoppable podcast to play your part in creating the unstoppable movement. Before I introduce you to today's very special guest, I want to first tell you about the Unstoppable Mastermind. It's my free private Facebook group for the Unstoppable Tribe. If you're an ambitious dreamer going all in on your dreams, and this is the place for you. A week from now, as soon as I get back from holiday in the first week of October, I'm going to be bringing the goods and getting hands-on and practical within the group to help you to unleash your greatness, build your business empire, make your impact in the world, and live your ultimate life. So be sure to join the group over at unstoppablepodcast.com/tribe or simply search for the Unstoppable Mastermind on Facebook. Now, earlier this week, I brought you an episode on mind hacking to help you increase your mental performance in episode 65. Now, for those of you out there hustling and pushing it to the limit, Monday's episode will help you to fine-tune your mind and keep you sharp so that you can maximize each and every day. Then last Thursday in episode 64, I brought you my good friend and mentor, Mr. Oliver Talamayan, who shared his secrets for successfully increasing your fees and building a high-ticket business. Now, regardless of what business type you're in, Oliver also shares some priceless advice on how to dominate your marketplace and build your network, so do not miss it. Now, on to today. I'm pleased to bring you master coach and millennial thought leader, Keara Palmay. Growing up, Keara always felt different than her peers, and her journey has proved her right. When she was just 16 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer. This caused Keara to question the very meaning of her existence. She began wondering if she was to lose her battle with cancer, what legacy would she leave behind? That critical turning point at such a young age made Keara realize that she had to share her unique gifts with the world. And ever since that challenging moment, Keara has now been actively involved in helping others to do the same and share their gifts with the world. Keara's journey has taken many different twists and turns, but it's all been driven by her passion to help others to unleash their greatest potential, and accordingly, she has trained with some of the world's best when it comes to coaching, fitness, and personal development. Today's episode is all about helping you to figure out how to identify your unique gift and share your unique gifts with the world. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Keara Palmay. Keara, welcome to the Unstoppable podcast. I'm honored to have you here and very excited for creating an amazing episode. So for the listeners, would you mind just sharing a little bit about what your business is all about right now and a little bit about what non-business Keara is all about and what you're into?
All right, cool. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm super excited. And in terms of what my business is all about right now, it seems like I attract people who just feel like they're stuck. Like maybe they're stuck in a funk and they know that they have more to offer in life, but they're not exactly sure what that is. Or if they are sure of what it is, they just don't even know where to begin because there's so many freaking resources all over the internet and people are launching podcasts and doing this and that. So people are getting very confused about how to actually start their own business and make a difference in the world. So it's these people that come to me who are just super awesome and are looking to empower others, and they're just trying to figure out like exactly where they fit in this world of, changing the game and really inspiring others into action.
Awesome. We're going to get along good. This is going to be a great conversation. And what about non-business, Keara? What do you do in your spare time when you're not cranking it in your business?
Oh, non-business Keara loves to read. I'm reading all the time, and I work out all the time. I'm still certified as a personal trainer, so I love to hit the weight room. I love to do CrossFit now. Also, I totally love red wine. So that's always nice and fun. And I love to get my dance on. I really, really, really love to dance. So that's really it. I speak at a lot of different events. I get my ass out there networking with as many people as possible, hang out with my friends, meditate, stuff like that.
Cool. Awesome. So let's take a bit of a deep dive into where it all began in terms of your business journey. Where did your business journey start, and what inspired you to get started on this path?
Well, my journey towards personal development really began when I was 16 years old. And I just didn't realize that my journey had begun at that time, because when I was 16, I was just kind of coasting along, living on autopilot. I was always very creative in school. Like, I was always the artist of the class. But I felt kind of like a social outcast. I felt always a little bit different because I always had these big ideas. And so, that kind of led to me not feeling like I ever fit in. Maybe people perceiving the things that I say as weird, because I was always daydreaming. So, I was a little bit like kind of a depressed child, a depressed teenager. And then one day I got dragged out of school, and it was because I had been sick for a while. And we got some testing done, and it turned out that when I was 16, I had 2 tumors in my lymphatic system.
My goodness.
And they turned out to be cancerous.
Shit.
I know. So, at a really young age, I started to ask really deep questions.
Wow.
I was like, what's the meaning to life? Like, if I were to die from cancer today, do I feel like my life even had any real meaning?
Gosh.
And so with these questions, it really lit a fire under my ass to start doing something. And even though I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I just started running out and getting involved in the community as much as I could. I became the spokesperson for the art sales at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I was getting treatment. So I was flipping calendars to try to raise money for cancer research.
Wow. And
I was all over in newspapers and the news and doing as much as I could. But like I said, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So it was really interesting, but that's really what started it all. So, fast forward in time, I wound up being cured of cancer, but it led me to a volatile path where I started I finally, after so long of being on chemo and just living day to day and waking up and thinking okay, well, what's today going to be like? And then once they told me I was cured of cancer and I had a whole future ahead of me, part of me was almost confused or angry. And I felt very lost and misunderstood. And so that led me to kind of isolate myself from people more. I couldn't pick a major in college because I was like, how the hell can someone put a label on the difference that they want to make in the world? I just couldn't understand anything. So, eventually I became a personal trainer just to get myself well. And I inspired other people to do the same. And then I started teaching personal trainers how to build their online business. And then eventually I started results coaching for a major organization and working for the best in the industry after I got certified in neuro-linguistic programming. So that's really what led me on the path of coaching. And just with my background of business, I knew how to create my own business. So that's what I did as well.
Wow. So I just want to touch on something. I don't want to dwell on it, but you're kind of well, I had the big C at 16 years old, kind of got over that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I've had plenty of encounters with people who have had cancer and still have cancer. And I know how traumatic it can be. And I like I said, I don't want to dwell on it, but as a 16-year-old, I put myself in those shoes. And
imagine myself as I was 16. At 16, we kind of think we're adults. We're approaching that point where we are independently thinking, and we often think we're a lot older than mature than we actually are. So we're at that kind of critical point between transition from childhood to adulthood. So to have big news like that at that point in life, I mean, how did you take that? I mean, what was your reaction when you were diagnosed?
My reaction was I was totally bummed out. I remember just thinking, like, what the hell? And then for some reason, I knew I was going to get through it, but I felt very different, and I felt very upset. Like, I wasn't able to go to school anymore because my immune system was off. And when you're 16, especially as a girl, especially in middle class America too, because we have no real problems in life other than like whose handbag is like nicer than whose. Right. So with that being said, I really was concerned about my appearance. So like the fact that I was bald, the fact that I looked very sickly, it just made me feel so isolated from other people. One day I did go to school because I felt well enough, and someone actually took my wig off in the hallway and called me a freak.
Oh my God.
And, so at a young age, I instantly was like, wow, I guess I am different. And, fast forward in time, some of the biggest challenges we go through in life are our biggest lessons. And to me, finding out that I was different at a young age, thank freaking God I'm different. Like, the last thing that I want in life is to ever be normal. So I am forever grateful to that person who snatched my wig off of my head when I was on chemo.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good example of positive blaming, I guess. And you're right. And it's really refreshing to hear that because, I speak to hundreds, if not thousands, of entrepreneurs and have done over the last several years. And the thing is, just the very act of becoming an entrepreneur kind of puts you in that different crowd by virtue of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We are a different breed of people. We think differently, we act differently, we have crazy visions and dreams, and not everyone understands it. So having the ability to come to terms with that kind of difference at an early age is probably giving you a distinct advantage, as you kind of said, in terms of moving into that phase. So,
absolutely.
So you referred to a point about challenges becoming kind of our greatest strengths. What are some of the biggest, aside from obviously the early challenges you had there early on in your life, what about when you got started in business? What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced since starting your business?
Oh, man. Well, it took me really years to start my real business of coaching because I had so many limiting beliefs. Like, I thought maybe I needed to go get another certification, or maybe I just needed to read another self-help before I knew enough to help someone change their life. Or, maybe I needed to study this or go to that event or this and that. And I was driving myself insane, and I was learning so much to the point that my tank was full and it was overflowing, and I wasn't applying anything that I was actually learning because I was coming from a place of fear. So, and that's what I see come up in a lot of my clients now, is that they feel like they know a lot. They feel like they've been to all the events and read all the books, but there's something holding them back from just finally applying their knowledge. So for me, the shift was really, what was the shift? The shift was just doing it. The shift was just jumping and trusting in the process. That's another thing, is I used to try to control every damn thing about my life. And when you try to control every single aspect of your life and your business and your body and whatever, it guarantees stress. Because at some point, you just need to trust the process and trust in yourself. And trust in the fact that you will never, ever, ever feel ready to pursue your dreams. But you just got to stand on the edge of the cliff and fucking jump.
Yes. I mean, I can relate to that entire story. Some of the Unstoppable listeners who've been with me since the beginning of the show will know all about the similar challenges I had in terms of, just that constant pursuit of the next piece of wisdom, that learning, studying, always in pursuit of more, which was just, for me, it was just avoiding getting started out of fear because I didn't feel like I was enough. I needed to know more. I needed to know the specific marketing tactic from A to B. I needed to know I needed how to go from startup to complete multi-million-dollar empire and all the steps before I even started.
Exactly.
And it just paralyzed me. And I had my own shift moment as well. And I do wonder, some of the conversations, it's really interesting because this kind of conversation, there's lots of different variables. I've interviewed people from all different kind of ages. And what I'm finding is, and I would guess, I would hallucinate that we're a similar age. What I'm finding is that the millennial group of individuals seem to have a much bigger challenge with this issue. You know, the people I'm interviewing from the kind of baby boomer generation, Gen X, the people who have gone before us, had very different kind of mindset challenges. At least I haven't got into those kind of overwhelm challenges. If you think about the environment we live in today, you know, I make the same reference whenever I talk about overwhelm. It's like you go into a store, you want to buy some olive oil to cook your dinner or just a bottle of water out in the street, and you've got hundreds of choices. We live in this environment of choice, and we have social media. You know, we go on Snapchat, we go on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're bombarded with all this information. We are a unique generation has to face all of these choices. So to me, it's no surprise that we get ourselves stuck. But I think this is a unique generational situation. I mean, I would be very, very interested to discuss that with, you know, some of those who are slightly older. But what do you think about that in terms of this kind of this era that we live in now, this digital era? Do you believe that contributes to people getting stuck out of overwhelm?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And the big thing is, and I want to make a distinction between originality and authenticity, okay? Because so many people are looking at the big leaders or the big thought leaders or gurus, whatever the hell you want to call them. They're looking at those big people who are running the game right now in personal development or coaching. And a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do what he or she is doing, but I feel like they're already dominating that space. You know, but the thing is, like, it's so rare that any content is actually original because we're all learning from each other. Like, I'm listening to your podcast. I'm listening to 20 different podcasts. They're probably listening to our podcast. Yes. So, like, now we're all downloading each other's shit, going to each other's events, reading each other's book. There's so much out there that it's so rare that anything's actually original. It's coming from so many different sources. So something that I would encourage people to start considering now, your listeners, is that if they feel like maybe they're not good enough because someone's already doing this or they don't know how they stand out as different, the key distinction is authenticity. Okay, because when you deliver something in a way that it's you and it flows through you as you, and you put your own energy and excitement and passion into it, like there's no one else who can replicate that. Like, people buy, and remember this too, like consumers, they buy first off based off of emotion. So if you give them an experience and they like the way that you make them feel, they're going to buy strictly for that. But second off, they might, the second reason why people buy is because of logic. So, you know, based off of emotion, they'll take the jump. They'll be like, oh, I want to work with that person. And then they'll think about it. Okay, logically, does this make sense? Okay, do I have the money? Can I swing it? Okay, this and that, this and that. Oh, they've got these testimonials. Okay, it's a good idea. You know, but the thing is, once you like really put yourself out there, make people feel good just by showing up and being authentic to yourself and freaking aligning with whatever it is that lights you up, then that's what makes you original in itself.
Perfect. I love that. And that's something, that's something I've been exploring personally over the last kind of 12 months. You know, one of the earliest lessons I've learned, and I'm sure you would have heard it from the same in terms of your background, you know, in terms of modeling other people. And the challenges with that lesson is that when you look to others for inspiration in terms of the strategies, you often look at the person as well and start thinking, well, you know, look what they've done. I'm not anything like that. How am I going to achieve that? And that's exactly the point you've just made. But what I've found over the last kind of 6 to 12 months is the closer I can be to showing up as what I call full DG, which is, you know, Dan Gregory for short, fully authentically as myself, that is when I'm creating change. And even on the podcast, you know, the style has changed considerably since it began in February. And the audience has responded incredibly powerfully to it because I'm just showing up as me. And if that means I'm shouting, swearing, going crazy, going on rants, then that's fine because that's who I am.
Exactly.
And instead of, one of my advice to people is, instead of talking about principles, talk about your experience of the principles.
Totally.
So when we're talking about getting stuck and getting unstuck, anyone can talk about the, 5 steps to becoming unstuck. But when you layer that with, your personal experience, all of a sudden that emotion clicks in and it's relatable. You can understand. You see, that is me. Because when it's just a script, a set of instructions, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But when I hear your story of going from, having this challenging, experience of cancer to transforming your life, becoming unstuck, and all these kind of things, it means so much more. And everyone has that unique ability to recall the lessons and experiences from their life and find the gift and the messages within them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's so true.
So what have been some of the defining moments for you? So obviously you had that moment when you were 16 years old. What have been some of the other defining moments as you progressed throughout your career now?
Yeah, I would say 1 year ago from right now, my dad he unexpectedly passed away. And when that happened, I realized, like, holy shit, none of our time is guaranteed, and we never know when we're going to go. So that's when I realized, like, there's no way I'm going to die with any music left in me. And so a year ago from now, I decided that I was going to write my first book. And it took me an entire year to finally publish it. As you know, it just came out like 2 weeks ago. But honestly, that was, first off, that inspired me to take action. And oftentimes it's those really challenging moments that are kind of thrown in our court that really catalyze change. And so that was a powerful moment for me. But then when I actually published that book, it did so many incredible things just in the last 2 weeks. Like, things just in terms of my business, like, it's booming. Like, I've tripled my clientele. It's just freaking crazy. And again, like I said, it's like trusting the process. Like, I knew that as a 26-year-old female, when I stand on stages, a lot of people look at me and they're like, okay, who the hell is this girl? Like, how can she know much about life? Like, I've seen clients in my, like, corporate coaching job in the past. I used to see their emails to the people who, like, basically were in charge of, like, matching a coach with a client. Yes. And I would see them email them and be like, oh, I Googled Keara Palmay. This girl is so young. I don't think she could help me. I don't want to work with her. So it's like I had that kind of proof that some people, like, I really needed to prove myself. And so honestly, publishing that first book was like the smartest business move I ever made. And now it's like it's available on Amazon. I'm sharing it with the world, and it's just a great tool as well to help people that just shift their paradigm, because it's a very mindset-based book. So I don't know. It's just so incredible to, like, trust the process, take the leap. I never felt like I was ready to finally publish my book. It took me an entire year, but I finally was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it.
The thing is, when you say it takes a year, in my mind I'm like, that's not a very long period of time to write a book. I know, I guess I've been to business seminars that are like, publish your book in a weekend. It's like, well, hang on a minute.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure about that. This is like a lifeblood of lessons. You want me to do it in a weekend? Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
But I love the title, Dominate Life. That's an incredible title. That's my language. I like that talk. So in terms of, you said, that the journey started kind of a year ago. You had this defining moment that kind of kicked you into action to get the book out there. But before that, had you already thought about releasing a book? Was that something you were thinking about already, or was that the kind of kick you needed to look at your options?
Yeah, I had always thought about writing a book, and I had written wrote, whatever the hell the word is. I've wrote like 3 different books at different times in my life, and then just stopped each time. But this was finally the defining moment where I'm like, that's it, it's done. And so what I did was I hopped on Facebook and I was like, hey, I am publishing my first book by this date. And so I made it a declaration in public so that everyone knew that it was going to happen. And then I felt like I couldn't let them down. Now, granted, I exceeded that date, but at least people were still nudging me. They're like, hey, where's your book? I know it's due. So at least I had that sort of accountability and just and made a declaration and, again, trusted the process. I'm like, I know this is going to happen. Boom, let's do it.
Awesome. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about when it comes to the book. Firstly, we've already said that in my mind that 12 months to write a book seems like a decent period of time. For me, that's a good period of time. If I started now, I believe I could potentially do it. But, I believe there's no such thing as an unrealistic goal. There's an unrealistic deadline. So I think the book is out. If you went slightly over the deadline, how many other people out there right now listening to this, that's you and your earbuds listeners, who are thinking about releasing a book and you haven't started. The key is making the decision and getting started. But
yeah.
I've done similar things. I remember when I was in that zone where I was kind of stuck, I 80% completed my first audio book. And I've looked back at it and it was actually freaking good. But at the time, I had this self-worth thing going on saying, who are you? You couldn't possibly release this audio book. No one's going to, all this crap that goes on in your head, no one will listen to this. And I'm way past that now. But I had this 80% complete product, but I pulled it out at the last minute. And what I've understood is that happens quite frequently. I've had a lot of different consultations and coaching calls with lots of different people. I've worked with lots of people who have the similar kind of condition of failing to complete the task at hand because of fear, this limiting beliefs. So did you experience that in your previous kind of attempts at books? Did you experience it during this book? The art of completion is so important, but I see it so many times in myself and others where you get so far and it's like, I'm not sure I'm going to go the distance. What's your perspective on that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that fear is always going to exist, and I've learned to kind of dance with it and kind of just laugh at it and be like, hey, I've disassociated with that fear as not being me. It's just this voice, but it's not me. So that gives me power to know that voice does not control me. So I expect that voice it whispers things like, you're going to fail, don't fuck it up. Oh, no one's going to buy your book. Your mom might buy a copy, but that's it. That's what the voice will start to say at times like that, like publishing my book, for example. And the thing was, so much shit came up when I went to publish my book. I'm not the most organized person. I'll be 100% honest. So when my publisher sent me the book, I was like, oh, it looks great. But I didn't actually look at it. So I was like, I opened it real quick. I was at the airport. I'm breezing through my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. So the night before I went to publish it, I saw all of these errors. I was like, holy shit. So I had to resubmit it. Things did not go perfectly. And of course that voice was in my head. You're going to blow it. You're going to blow it. You should have just waited another week. You should have read it last week like you said you did. But the thing is, that voice will always show up, especially when you're on the verge of a breakthrough or a new experience is going to take you to the next level in life. And so what has liberated me beyond belief is to, first off, separate myself from that voice and know that it is not me. But second off, just not take life so seriously. I like to think about it. If I sold, let's say I published my book and I sold, 1 million copies overnight and I became a New York Times best-selling author and it was the best case scenario. It's not like fireworks would start going off for me. It's not like, people would be showing up at my front door, handing me their babies and I'd be kissing babies. The thing is, no one gives a shit. And on the contrast, if I totally flopped, if nobody bought my book, if it just totally bombed, it's not like birds would die and drop from the sky. It's not like people would show up at my doorsteps and point at me and call me a loser. The thing is, I realize while it sounds cynical, this actually liberates me to believe that no one really gives a shit because they're so caught up in their own shit that it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. Of course, I'm going to do my best job. Of course, I'm going to produce my best work. But at the end of the day, I'm not so attached to the outcome. And that's what actually frees me up to be myself. And it also liberates me to just trust in the process and believe that it's a done deal.
Nice. Nice, I love that. That's such a good way to put it. And the book itself, then, who's the book aimed at, and what's the intended outcome for the book for someone who is to read Dominate Life?
Yeah, so Dominate Life basically will show you how to get a crystal clear vision of what you want. It'll help you overcome any limiting beliefs that are preventing you from getting that. It'll help you fully own your awesomeness. So like we were saying, a lot of times what prevents us from achieving our goals or just going for it is the fact that we might have some confidence issues or beliefs that we're not enough. So it'll fully help you step into your awesomeness. It'll program your mind to work for you rather than against you. And again, it goes into that little voice that I was just talking about. It'll help you basically create a step-by-step blueprint for how to create your dreams so that it's not just oh yeah, that's cool, I want to do it. We actually chunk it down and create strategies so that you realize what you can do step by step in order to move forward in life and towards your dreams.
Nice. I must get a copy. It sounds like an amazing book.
Yeah.
One of my questions for you is, obviously it must be a real proud moment releasing that book, something that was so important to you, and you set your mind to it, you committed to it 12 months ago, put it out there, said it's happening, hold me to it. It's a proud moment, you got it out there. So what have been some of your other most proud moments in your careers to date?
Most proud moments, let's see. Well, when I got the job coaching for a major organization, that was really awesome because 2,000 people applied for my position and they only hired 25 of us. Wow. And I basically went through a 4-month-long training from the best in the industry. And that was just an experience that I can never unlearn. This is with me for life, depending, regardless of where my future takes me, I'm forever grateful for that experience. And also just getting on stages and starting to speak. Like I said, I used to have so many limiting beliefs. It used to cripple me from taking action. And I used to wonder, who the hell cares about me? Why would anyone want to hear what I have to say? But once I just got on stage and started speaking, people really, really were moved by any of the stories or content that I shared. So another thing I did was I wanted more speaking experience, and I just went ahead one day and followed my curiosity and said, I wonder what would happen if I just started a meetup group in Philadelphia, the city I live in. And all of a sudden, I took off on a flight, I made the meetup group while I was in the airport. I came back from wherever I was vacationing at, and I saw that 150 people joined just over that weekend. And I was like, oh shit, I guess I have to do something about this. I guess I have to host an event. So I'm like, well, how the hell do you even host an event? I don't know. So I just put up on the page, I'm like, hey guys, we're going to have our first events 2 weeks from now. It's going to be from 7 to 9. Mark your calendars. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a pro at this because I actually have no idea what the hell I'm doing. But we're going to make it work, so let's do this thing. And basically I just try to figure out how the hell to find a place to, host a big event at. And then, just the freaking universe aligned for me because I made that decision. And, one person called me, and she, totally supported what I was doing. It gave me an entire building that was, it was so cool. There was, it was, totally hippie-like. It was, one of those co-op working spaces where entrepreneurs go. Yeah, all the furniture is made out of recycled skateboards, and there was sofas made out of old bathtubs. So it's so freaking cool how when you just take these jumps in life, like I said, the universe just conspires to work for you, and things will just line up. But that's definitely, I would say overall, the most proud moments in my life is when I just jumped, not knowing what the hell was going to happen, but I did it anyway because I knew it was taking me towards my dreams.
That's a powerful lesson in itself. And I think the fact that you have that ability to, now you've kind of let go from that kind of stuck in a funk mentality, you just liberate yourself. You're free to make that decision. And, previously, you said at the beginning, you might have wanted to learn more and learn the steps. And if you did that, you could have taken months figuring out even how to set up the freaking group, let alone put on the event. It would have just been put off. So that liberating approach of just deciding what you want and
having a clarity about what you want to achieve and why you want to do it, and then just trusting that the how is going to figure itself out, or you'll figure out the steps along the way. It's
exactly
so powerful. So there's a couple of things I want to kind of dive into now.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about this before the show, and I shared my own personal example. And before I do that, I just want to kind of honor you for that event, and the fact that you were open and transparent and authentic, and the fact that you told people that this is what I want to do. I'm not sure how to do it, but we're going to do it. and I think that's, for me, today I was doing some research for my mastermind group, and it was about kind of social media and the people who are crushing it on social media right now, and who's making a difference for the benefit of the group. And what I really discovered, there was 10 principles that I shared with the group, but one of the key ones is that those who are really crushing it are just being open, authentic, raw, vulnerable, real. And there's two things they're doing. Rather than focusing on the classic 7 steps to build your audience and that kind of stuff, which I kind of joke about because it's still important and still good and valuable. But if you look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, there's 2 things that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about every single day. Number 1 is his vision, where he's going, what he wants to do. Most of the world probably knows that Gary Vaynerchuk wants to buy the New York Jets, but then he's also talking every single day about the hustle, the grind, being in the game. Now, we've touched upon modeling, and you don't have to be Gary Vaynerchuk, you don't have to have his personality type, but take the message. It's okay just to tell people where you're going and sharing the journey. This takes so much pressure off, and that's a lesson that I've learned. It's like, right, here's my vision. I'm just going to tell the story. I don't need to figure out, the content I'm going to share. I'm just going to get on social media, share the things I'm trying to create, and be open about the journey. Share the journey of people, because the people who I want to be coming into the Unstoppable tribe are the people who are on the journey with me. I want people who are getting in the game and getting their sleeves rolled up and getting in the game. So they're going to respect the fact I'm saying, this is where I'm going to go. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to share how it's working out as I'm doing it. And that's, for me, is really, really powerful. But using that principle of being authentic and open right now, we were talking about prior to this call, one of the challenges I've got right now, I've just completed a couple of projects, and some of it I really enjoyed, some of it I found really frustrating and annoying. And now I'm on holiday next week, or on vacation, however you put it, and I want to reflect upon what's next. And it's all about that piece around owning your awesomeness that you speak about. So I'm really reflecting now. I'm going on this internal journey of how do I figure out what do I want to create next? How do I want to show up? What's most important? So based upon the work that you do, your coaching, your book, what's the kind of process? Could you walk me through the kind of process you would take someone through when you're trying to identify how someone can own their true awesomeness?
Well, first off, you got to find out what it is that you are really masterful at. So, you have to think about, okay, how can you add value to the world? And, that's a question I ask myself every single morning when I wake up. I ask myself, how can I add the most value to the world today just being myself? Because when you add value to the world, value comes back to you. And value can certainly have a $sign put on it, and it should when you're putting so much value out there. So it's finding out what their unique skill sets are, what lights them up, and then following their curiosity. So it's what are those things that you think about at the most inconvenient time? Maybe you're in the shower and you have this brilliant idea, or maybe you're driving your car and you have all these different ideas flow to you, and you're like, holy shit, that's good. I wish I could write it down. And you might jump out of the shower and be naked and have to wipe off and find your phone and try to type it out. But the thing is it's following that childlike wonder. What is it that really, really inspires you? And then it's following that. But of course there has to be a demand as well. You can't just make something that you think the world is going to love and invest all your time and money into it, and then nobody wants to actually buy it. So what I would say is, first off, throw yourself out there. I would never be in business if I never just started making Facebook videos, especially Facebook Live nowadays. Just start throwing yourself out there. Put videos up. See whatever it is you talk about. Like I said, follow your curiosity. Whatever shows up, talk about it. And then start asking people. You might already be in a position where you can ask people. If you already have a business, I would definitely encourage you to create a survey. You can use Typeforms or Wufoo forms, whatever it is you want, but find out what it is that people want what's preventing them from reaching that, so that you can create some sort of something and you can create a solution to heal their wounds, so that before you begin that there's already a demand for it.
Yeah, that's powerful. I guess the challenge for me personally, and this is me being open and honest here, is that it comes back to that piece around choice. Now, I've always naturally been a decisive individual. I consider myself to be a decisive person, but the challenge comes when you like a lot of things. So take, going out for dinner, for example, at a very basic level. I know it frustrates. I've spoken to lots of people, women in particular, who find it very frustrating when they're sat with a man who won't decide what he's going to freaking eat when he's at the restaurant. But I'm one of those guys. I'm like, well, I like the curry. I like the idea of the beef or the this or that. It's not because I'm indecisive. It's just like, oh, this sounds so good. And if you translate that to business, I'm a multi-passionate guy. I've got loads of different interests. And over the course of the last kind of 2 or 3 years, as I've been building the Unstoppable business, there's lots of different avenues I've explored, and some I've closed down because they're not right. But then there's like multiple paths still open, and each of them kind of excites me. So the challenge for me is almost that choice of, I can't be something. My advice to many other people is like, you can't be someone to everyone, otherwise you're someone to no one. So, but I'm at that decision point with those paths laid in front of me. It's like, right, okay, which one shall I choose? Because that's what it comes down to. I'm not going to close off the other paths by walking down one. They're still going to be there. But that's the challenge that I face right now, and I'm sure many other people can relate to that. So, what advice would you give when someone has multiple interests, multiple passions, and all of which are in terms of a business are financially viable? That there are proven business models within each of those. There's proven track record. There's competitors out there. There's a buying market. What advice would you give to someone who has those kind of multifaceted options?
Yeah, totally.
How does someone cut through that and make a choice that's empowering?
The advice I would give is, again, first off, find out what the demand is. So if you already have a group of clients, you can ask them, okay, where do you see your next evolution? Okay, for me, I do a lot of coaching with people, and I get them crystal clear of what it is they want. So then once they start asking, oh, well, how did you start your business? I need to know how to do that. Then my next evolution was, okay, I'll start a business course. So the thing is, I would definitely start asking around, seeing what it is that people want. Put up a video, be authentic, be vulnerable, be like, listen, I want to do something, but I freaking just like everything. And I want to best serve you. So what can I do to best serve you? And see what shows up. And then what I would say next is to just literally sell something out of thin air, even if it doesn't exist. Yeah. And that sounds sleazy, but it's not. Let me just explain what that means. All right. So for me, I always wanted to create a membership site, but there was so much preventing me from doing it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to need to learn how to password protect it. And I'm going to need to build all the pages, and I'm going to have to shoot videos. I was analyzing every freaking little element that it would take for me to build a group coaching membership site, that it crippled me from taking action for months. Yeah. And I suffered because of it. Because every day, all the joy out of it as well. Yeah, every day I woke up, I'm like, shit, here's another day where I didn't make my first video for my membership site. And I did it for freaking months. Yes. And then one day I finally reached a threshold where enough people were asking me for a certain type of coaching. And I said, oh, yeah, great. I got this client signed up on a Thursday. I said, oh, this is perfect timing for you because that program launches on Monday. So I took their money. I signed them up for the program that didn't exist. And my ass got to work building a membership site. And the cool thing is, too, that when you have a membership site, you can drip feed it. And so you can just tell your clients it's drip fed. And so they have no idea that you're building it week by week in front of their, while they sign up. They have no idea that you don't have it all together. And it doesn't matter that you don't have it all together. It does not matter. Yeah. Yeah, because all it comes down to is the value. What was that?
I've been part of a coaching program where the coach at the beginning said, look, I've got the first week ready. I trusted that they were going to do it. They're an esteemed individual. They're a great track record. I knew they were going to deliver the content. It didn't bother me that they weren't, 10 weeks worth wasn't created yet. I trusted that it was going to come.
build the plane,
Yeah.
build the plane once you fly. It's it's fine.
Exactly. And if you want to market something to like a big audience and see if it takes off, you can, again, like take people's money. And then if there isn't a big enough demand where it's just not worth your time, then you simply just don't make the program or the product and refund everybody and say, hey, listen, I'll let you know if it comes around in the future. But for now, there's just not enough of a demand.
That's powerful. And I think the other thing as well is it's just about getting in the game. It's jump in the pool, take that leap. I remember speaking with my coach probably 9 months ago at the beginning of one of my projects. And what he said, he said, how much on a scale of 1 to 10 do you want to do this? And I said, well, it's probably around an 8 or a 9. It's pretty high, but I will not know 100% what level it's at until I've done it. I can go so far in the process, and there's always parts of the journey that become frustrating, annoying, figuring out how to password protect the stuff, all that kind of stuff. But until you get to the finish line, you don't know if it's right for you. And, as I said as part of this call, some of the journeys I've been on where I've reached the finish line, now it's a case of, well, okay, it's no longer a 9 or 10 or 10 out of 10 anymore. That's parked, but there's things in there that's the 9 or 10 activity that I'm going to focus on. But you don't know that until you put yourself in the game. You go create, you go make it happen. And if I look back at my own life before I got to the stage where I was an action taker and going out there and making it happen, it was just trying to think myself into what it would feel like. You can't think yourself into feeling something until you've done it. You have to do it. Yeah,
exactly.
So on that point, I've moved a long way from that kind of stuck in a funk thing that you talked about. But for people who are stuck in a funk, what's the first thing someone needs to do? Could you describe your experience of breaking out of your own funk to help people understand how to move past that?
Well, first off, get crystal clear of what it is you want, because clarity is power. So if you don't know what you want, you're going to keep focusing on what you don't want, and you'll consequently start manifesting more of that in your life.
How did you figure that out for yourself?
Well, the thing is, and I'm going to just tell your audience to stop overthinking. If you don't know what it is that you want in life, stop overthinking. You know what you want in life. Follow that childlike wonder that exists within you. Follow your curiosity. That's what's going to take you places. And jump and take action. But the thing is, it's thinking about, okay, if I were to die tomorrow and I sold out a TED Talk tonight in front of 5,000 people, what is it that I would talk about? And then just get the answer to that. You can jump on Facebook. If you have zero audience, cool. Nobody gave a shit about me when I started this, I had to just put myself out there and put myself in a position. So one day I just started making Facebook videos. One thing led to the next. Now, just because I threw myself out there and talked about the things that interested me, now I have an entire business that revolves around that. And I'm not saying that because I'm special. I'm saying that simply because I just stopped bullshitting myself. I stopped overanalyzing every freaking little thing that there was to overanalyze, and I just did something. So if you're in that position, stop bullshitting yourself. And if you're saying, oh, I don't know what my passion is, that's a story.
Yes.
That's a story that you're using to deflect just taking responsibility for the fact that you know damn well what you feel passionately about, and now go take some responsibility and take action and make a difference, because God, or the universe, whatever you call it, they created you to thrive, not to just die inside and feel remorseful or feel like you're not living at your highest potential just because you're not using the talents that you were born with. Start using them today. Stop bullshitting yourself. Stop overanalyzing it. Take action. Follow that curiosity. Follow that wonder. It will take you in the right direction, guaranteed. Just jump. Just do it.
Awesome. That's some power there. And I'm with you 100%. I truly believe that we all know deep down what we want to do. And even on the simple level, when, I use the restaurant example, how many times you look at the menu and you're like, oh, I'm not sure what to order. And you always order the first thing that you were going to order anyway. That's the first thought. And it's the same in business and life. You can go and explore every single option, but you're just avoiding what you already know. Just cut the BS and just dive in. That's something, you have to trust. And I had a conversation with another guest. We talked about this warp. We create this warp around us in life, which just helps, which protects us from making the decisions that could change our lives. You go to people in a job, they just wrap themselves up in the day-to-day, which prevents them from tapping into the truth of what they want to create and who they are and what they're all about. You have to take yourself out of that warp, that out of the day-to-day, and just allow yourself to be with yourself so you can actually just figure out and just tune in. Does this make me happy, or whatever your highest values are? Does this excite me? Does this create adventure for me? Is what I'm doing right now filling me up like it should fill me up? And just, sometimes it's just about looking at the opposite. What is it I'm doing right now that's not firing? What is pissing me off? What do I dislike about this? And then look at the opposite. If you're really stuck and you really can't figure it out, just look at what knocks the hell out of you in life and look at the opposite side.
Yeah. And another thing, and Elizabeth Gilbert said this in her book, Big Magic. It's an incredible book, but a lot of people say, or they ask, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And while that's a great thing to think about, it's a great jumping off point. Another thing to consider is, what were you, okay, so the question, I'm sorry, I mix it up a little bit. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail is the question. But also it's like, what would you do if you knew that you could fail anyway, but you just did it regardless? Because success and failure aren't even something you need to ponder over, because you just love doing it anyway. Just go do that thing. And like I said, don't be so attached to the outcome. Like I said, birds aren't going to fall from the sky and just die because you bombed your first business venture. Nobody cares. Move along. Just do better next time. Like, it's not that serious. I know this sounds cynical, but none of this is that big of a deal. We're not going to make it out alive. So you might as well just do something while you can.
I love it. Right. That's a good place for us to finish. I've got 3 power questions for us to wrap up the show. It's been a great episode. So the first question I have for you, and you can choose, I used to ask this question, what advice would you give your younger self? But I've switched it around, and I want you to think about the younger you. And you can think about the childlike you can think about the teenage you choose the individual, but I want you to think of a younger version of yourself. What would that younger version of yourself say to you now, seeing what you're doing right now?
Wow, you're fucking killing it. Nice. Straight up.
Nice. And if you did flip the equation, then what advice would you give to your younger self?
Stop being afraid. Don't worry about what anyone thinks about you, because I think that you're marvelous. And I know that when you follow your talents and you just be you, everything is going to fall into place. Just trust that. Awesome.
Question number 2 is a slightly interesting question, because I like to think about what we focus on is what we create. But what the purpose of this question is to show people that everyone has fear. So what is your deepest fear in life at the moment?
My deepest fear is, my deepest fear is actually failure. And that's what drives my ass to succeed every day.
Nice. Not fulfilling what you're here to do now that you know what it is. Awesome. And then the final question, the big one, is what does it mean to you to be unstoppable?
It means to live in alignment with who you truly are. Congruency is key. Be yourself. To be unstoppable is just to share whatever it is that you feel compelled to share at any point in time. Being just gifted and guided, passionate, genuine, coming from a place of love and serving. You said unstoppable?
Yeah.
Just jump. I can't say it enough. Just jump and trust that you're going to land in the perfect place.
Nice. I love that. Now, the final and probably even more important, is the more important question, is for everyone who's been listening today, who've been rocking out with us on the Unstoppable podcast. Firstly, how can they find your book? And secondly, where can they tune in to find out more about your work?
Yeah, so actually, because I just love you so much, Dan, and I love everyone listening, I actually put my book into a PDF that you can access for free. Wow. And in order to get that, you got to text the word dominate to 44222. So again, that's dominate to 44222. In addition to that, I would encourage everyone to add me on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Keara Palmay. Feel free to shoot me a message too, because I love to understand where people are coming from, what compelled them to reach out or add me, just so I can identify you as a listener of Dan's podcast here. I would love for you to add me, introduce yourself, get in a conversation. But yeah, otherwise, definitely download that book. It also comes with a free workbook. So this is great for not only listeners who are looking to get clarity in their life and move forward, but also for coaches too, in order to get some really powerful coaching questions.
Awesome. And then finally, I know you've got a couple of big speaking gigs coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. Where can people see you on the stage over the next couple of weeks?
Yes, so I will be, there's one coming up this weekend. Okay, let's see. So on October 7th, I'm going to be at the NorCal Fitness Summit, teaching personal trainers how to get their business up and running. I'm going to be at the Online Super Coach event October 21st. And then this weekend, and that'll be in Queens, New York. And then this weekend, what the hell is the date? The 23rd. I'll be at the Massive Impact Summit, and that's in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice. I got AJ coming on the show actually, hopefully in time for his to big conference. So
that's my dude.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Keara, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for unleashing your greatness on the Unstoppable podcast. It's been lots of fun, lots of great value, and thank you so much for sharing your book with the audience. Do go and download that. All the links that we've talked about will be in the show notes. So go over to danjgregory.com and you'll see everything you need there to get the resources that Keara's mentioned today, and do connect as well. Thank you so much, Keara. It's been an amazing show.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Hey folks, I thoroughly enjoyed creating today's interview for you. And not only did I have a lot of fun in creating the interview with Keara, but I also took a great deal of value myself. The one question that stands out for me that Keara shared is, how can I add the most value to the world today by just being myself? Now, without the last part of that question, it's still a very powerful question in terms of adding value. How can you add more value than anyone else? But by being yourself, that is powerful. Because we can show up as a product of our environment, or we can show up as a product of our own design. Who do you want to be? Showing up authentically as you is the key. Now, it doesn't matter what your past conditioning has been, the kind of people you've hung around, the environments you've been in. You are in a position to make a decision today about how you show up. And I started writing out a to-be list alongside my to-do list to be exactly clear on how I want to show up in the world and how I want to add value to those who I choose to serve. So think about that going into the weekend. How can you serve being just who you are? Because who you are is enough. And who you choose to be in this world will be the reflection of the people you attract. Now, before we sign off for the day, do make sure you grab a copy of Keara's book, which he's kindly offered to the Unstoppable Tribe by texting DOMINATE, the word dominate in capitals, to 44222. That's 44222. Dominate, capital letters. Also, I want to remind you, as I said at the beginning of the show, to join the Unstoppable Mastermind group on Facebook. Come and connect with the Unstoppable Tribe and be part of the movement. And of course, you're invited to show up fully as you. So head over to unstoppablepodcast.com/tribe or hunt me down on Facebook and get involved. That is it. We are done for the day. I am back on Monday with another epic Monday solo round. Subscribe to the show to make sure you never miss a beat. Until next time, go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact on the world, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.